A while ago I had the idea, Terraria, but what if I couldn't use the movement keys? A quick YouTube search and it's been done before, but I wanted to give it a try myself. To avoid spoilers, I immediately started playing and recording without any research or planning, which may have been a bad idea, but I did it. Enjoy! Now things started pretty normal with a classic character on a classic world. Upon loading into the world for the first time, you can see that I spawned right next to a tree, which is nice. It lets us get some wood, which I made a crafting table. Awesome. With the table, I realized there's not much to be made, so I made a door. I believe the thought process here was that it would be important to control whether or not things are going to attack me, because I can't run away from stuff. And I have to make do by digging down and creating a little hovel for myself, which immediately gets breached by slime. Thankfully, along with that wood, I did get an acorn, which I could plant for more wood. But now, the only way currently that I can move left and right is actually to take damage, which isn't very easily controlled. We just have to make do with wherever we get pushed. I got more wood. I was finally able to fiddle around for a while. I'm not sure why I didn't just build up. And then I finally had an idea. Okay, so wait a second. Chairs. Chairs are a thing. When you place a chair, you can sit in the chair by right-clicking. But the range for right-clicking into a chair is actually a little lenient. It extends about 2 or 3 blocks out. So you can see I made a chescalator, a chair escalator. I just love the look of the character sort of teleporting between chairs. I'm pretty sure you could set up some sort of chair cannon where you infinitely gain speed by jumping between chairs. Heading into the night, I was a bit more deliberate with fighting, and while I didn't get anything all that important, I was getting experience. You can see, I did finally, at a certain point, decide to dig down. It didn't lead to too much, but it does bring up the idea of where do we go next. Around this time, you can see me start to experiment with how I want to place things like the workbench, and I finally figured out that embedding it in the ground slightly does allow you to access it. Also, I did make some wood armor because, I had a lot of wood at this point, but I finally, right about here, I discovered that using chairs and platforms, you can make what I like to call a chair case, which does allow you to go diagonally. So, the innovation is slowly rolling in. All that said, while chairs help with accessibility, obtaining and using a grappling hook would take us way farther, way faster. The most basic version requires 3 chains and 1 hook. You can make 10 chains per iron or lead bar, so that's not too bad. Getting a hook can be a bit harder because there is a 4% chance one will drop from skeletons and a 3.33% chance of it dropping from a piranha. Looking back at my footage, I had a hook drop from a piranha, which coincidentally was right next to a skeleton. This happened about an hour and a half into my playthrough, which isn't breaking any records. Realistically, this probably could have been done within minutes of starting a new world, but I was really taking things very slowly. With the hook in hand, our reliance on the chair wanes. It allows us to go left, right, down, and up, assuming there's blocks to hook onto. This can be a bit stiff and clunky, but once you get into the rhythm, pressing space to jump cancel out of the hook can give you more locomotive flexibility. Also, when going across mostly flat ground, you can see that it even gives you a bit of momentum without ever needing to press left or right. Of course, once I got a bomb, I was able to bring in the demolitions expert, and then I can TNT my way to hell. The only worry is, I guess, just blowing up yourself, which is what happens here. Continuing on, it becomes a lot more the same. As I started to get a hang for things, it's just like, you gotta get more ore, you gotta go deeper. A lot of this starts to look and feel like an actual normal playthrough. It's just I can't move properly. Looks like I did also start making a sky platform. This is a very annoying setup, but you can do this, where you actually start making a platform, hook onto it. If you keep your cursor perfectly still, you can repeatedly right click to place the platform and press, I think I have it as E to hook, and do it over and over, and it does let you get through without too much effort. Onwards, the first boss I attempted was the Eater of Worlds using a demon bow with jester arrows, and then once those run out, some explosives and hellfire or fire arrows. I wasn't very prepared, and while I can take some hits because it's normal mode, I took a few too many hits. Through that, I did make the Ballo hurt, which I realized is a really good weapon, surprisingly, because when you click and hold, it'll spin it around yourself, and this gives us a reliable way to fight at close range without doing too much. Looks like I got a bunch of grenades. I think that was the play I wanted to go for more than anything else. Holy crap, they absolutely destroy the Eater Worlds. You see at some point, right? Yeah, I did try, actually, minecarts, right? But the problem is you literally can't move left and right. There's no physics to it, so you won't go down slopes. You have to press left or right to get the minecart moving. Now, one thing I actually do like the minecart tracks for is not actually using the minecart. It's instead, it allows us to fall through rather than pressing a button. So it's a much nicer to navigate through option compared to the platform. For the next boss, the Eye of Cthulhu arrived one night, so I met it up on my fledgling sky bridge. At this point, I had about 25 defense, which meant dodging its attacks wasn't really necessary. After hitting it in the cornea repeatedly with my flail, I won, which is cool. I then returned to Hell, where I was continuing to build out the bridge that I would eventually use to fight the Wall of Flesh. Of course, I know I hadn't beaten Skeletron yet, and honestly, I was kind of worried. I always hate fighting Skeletron, probably because I've never been good at dodging attacks, and also I'm just bad. I would have to face the music eventually, but not before some nice and chill mining in the underground snow biome. This is where I got a bunch of slippery blocks that'll become relevant later. I also took a trip to the jungle briefly to kill the bee boss, so that I could obtain the power of bees, mainly the bee's knees. Sometime later, around 9 hours into my playthrough, I am so slow, I was ready to see if Mr. Skeletron would rattle me bones. Turns out that I rattled him instead, because yet again, I am overleveled, this is normal mode, and I think I was just worried because I have lasting fears from attempting master mode once. But that's done, and he dropped his hand, aka Skeletron hand. It's cool because it's one of pre-hard mode's multi-hooks. While it has just 2 of them, this is enough to change the feel of moving around. It's nice and offers a bit more precision with how you position yourself, but I kept using my ruby hook for the rest of the session. I then delved into the dungeon, which of course is dangerous, but a bit more so when you only have jumping and a hook to get you out of spiked pits. The most notable find was a godly blue moon, another flail. It's a nice replacement for my ball of hurt. Back to Hell again. While building out the bridge, I realized something. Even in the lava-filled, sweltering heat of the underworld, ice blocks are slippery. As I mentioned before, hooking and releasing while moving across flat terrain lets the character get a bit of left and right momentum without ever pressing left or right on the keyboard. After summoning him, I found that depending on how you hook and release, you can get too much speed, leaving the boss behind. This made things a little more complicated as I had to slide back towards him without going directly into his fleshiness. When starting this challenge, where I can't use the movement keys, I never expected to outpace the Wall of Flesh. It's crazy. Still, it was a pretty smooth boss fight. I had plenty of defense, the bee's knees absolutely shreds his health, and on my first attempt, it was an easy win. Now before we wrap up, one thing. During this playthrough, I encountered something odd, which is that when you hook onto a door that is closed, and then you open it while still hooked on, you get flung forward as if doing this sort of stores and releases some momentum. I don't know why this happens, but it made me realize that you could set up a bunch of doors on a long stretch of ice blocks, like in Hell or for your sky bridge, for some easy momentum generators. But yeah, that's about all I've recorded. That was way too long. If you want to see me continue on to beat the Moon Lord, let me know. I'm open to it, but you know, at this point, it would mostly follow a normal playthrough, but I just can't really move easily. With that, I think we'll end things here. Thank you for watching. Big thanks to my channel members for the support, and a Terraria-sized thanks to Captain Crayfish for being a super fan. If you enjoyed this video, why not leave a like, maybe subscribe, and check out some of my other Terraria content, or non-Terraria videos. I have a bunch of stuff. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.